Morning by Julie Sharp, Part 4.
All through Friday, I longed for the feeling that you were listening. I never stopped calling. You were the only one I could bear to talk to. And you weren't there. There was chaos when they brought him out onto the street. Susanna has a friend in the palace, so I knew that he'd been arrested and passed from Pilate to Herod to Pilate until the decision was taken at last. Taken in the courtyard for everyone to see. I knew that Pilate had handed him over to the soldiers for their mockery, for their games. It was the custom. What did they know, those Romans, of what he stood accused of? With their careful order, anything out of place disturbed them. I can see that look on Pilate's face now as if he were before me. He was a man disturbed. Susanna told me that Pilate's wife had told him to leave my boy alone, but things had gone too far. His hands were washed long before that ceremony in the yard. The crowd who'd been in the yard were probably the same as those who now lined the street. I know that's how it happens. They may have been those very people who called for him as he entered the city on the Pilgrim Day. The same lips that yelled, "Hosanna!" until they were hoarse, had called for his death, and now they were here again. Let them see what they've done, I thought. Let them remember, as he walks between them, how he walked among them freely, daily. He healed their sick children. He answered their questions. He listened, and he taught, and he walked with them. Wouldn't they remember that? There was a roar when they brought him out, as if the crowd had become one animal. I was standing at first behind some people. I didn't know if I wanted him to see me, so I was a layer of people back, behind two men and a woman dressed, I remember, in a russet dress, white embroidery on the ochre background. Beautiful. Then suddenly they moved, and I was looking through the gates and he was coming straight towards me. The wood on his back seemed to me to be huge. Never in the days when they worked would Joseph or any of my good strong sons have carried such a weight alone. It dragged on the street, over the pavements, the cobbles, the stones. It was, I calculated, a little more than twice as long as him. The wood was new, but very rough. I found myself wondering what wood it was. What wood was chosen for death? Such thoughts, the wife of a carpenter thoughts, came through my head. There were still the trappings of their games on him. The purple cloth, a rag now, and the thorn crown. I had heard of it. Someone had told me. Some leather-gloved soldier's hand had woven it. The branches of a thorn bush were twisted in a ring, a grotesque mockery of a king's crown, meant to humiliate him and to tear his flesh. The wounds were kept open because the thorns were still there and he was moving. I could see the bright red of young blood, shed from the shallow flesh that covers the head and face. No hand had wiped the blood drops away, and they ran like tears down his face. His dear face. He's been here before, I wanted to shout. You loved him then. The crowds had always loved him, except when they hated him. When he came as a boy, he spoke with scholars and they were silenced by him. When he came later, he healed, even in the temple itself. And he spoke always, answered always, however they tried to trick him. They could never silence him. They could never quiet him down. They couldn't make him disappear. And he wouldn't let them corrupt your house with their cheating of the poor and their selling of sacrifices at bargain prices. His temper was alight then, and no one could stop him. There was no standing still. He was gone, and the roar and the heat and the press of people on every side and the pavement beneath my feet seemed about to swallow me. I thought I would fall down there in the street, only the crowd was so close there was no space even for fainting. Then there was someone next to me. It was James and his brother John. They were there. I was pulling against them both. I must have seemed mad, tearing at them, desperate not to be held back. But the younger boy, John, caught me and said, "Wait. Be still. We'll take you." His brother objected, but John was firm. She must do what she must do, was all he said. And eventually James was stilled too and said, "We all must. Yesterday I ran and I can never forgive myself. Let's all follow him now to the last, just as we've done since we met him that first day." And John gave him the look of a brother who knows. And we all turned towards the hill.